Hey everyone, welcome to this live session. I'm Will Ridings, a bankruptcy attorney with Ridings Law Firm in the greater St. Louis, Missouri area. I've been helping people get out of debt from crushing debt for decades. And today I'm diving deep into consumer bankruptcy, specifically Chapter 7 and Chapter 13. This is one of the most misunderstood areas of law, and I want to clear up a lot of confusion. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop your questions in the chat. I'll try to answer as many as I can throughout the hour. Section 1, Bankruptcy 101. Bankruptcy is a legal tool, just like if you were a carpenter and you had a hammer and a saw and a tape measure, to help you get a fresh financial start when you've become overwhelmed by debt. If you've tried everything else you could think of to get out of debt and there's nothing else left to do, then you know bankruptcy is a good option. It's not about losing everything, it's about regaining control. And honestly, freedom from debt is one of the most satisfying feelings that you could possibly ever think of having. Credit in the United States of America is relatively easy to get, and and it's useful to buy a car or buy a house or you know cover unexpected expenses and stuff like that. But the interest just accumulates, and if you get behind, they start adding in late fees and maybe possibly even attorney fees, and it just can easily snowball into becoming something that's completely out of control. And if you try to pay it back and you realize it's never going to happen in 10, 20, 30 years, filing a bankruptcy might be the perfect solution to become debt free. So the bankruptcy laws are governed by federal laws. The history of bankruptcy to me is pretty interesting. Over they've been around over 400 years. When people were in debt 400 years ago and they couldn't pay it back, indentured to their creditors, and their whole family might become indentured and have to work off the debt, work for free to pay back the debt. And they embarrassed them and ridiculed them, and it was a lot different. So when this country was being formed 250 years ago, Thomas Jefferson wrote uh, Article 2, bankruptcy laws are in the Constitution of the United States. It's federal law. And Thomas Jefferson was the third president of the United States, and he himself filed bankruptcy to get rid of his debts 250 years ago, 17, something, 76, the country was formed. So long time ago. The federal laws that govern bankruptcy is Title 11 of the United States Code, but there's differences based on your state when it comes to exemptions and property protection. So it's not about losing all of your property when you file bankruptcy. It's about keeping your property, all of it. If you have, it's one of the kind of common rules about bankruptcy is it's about getting a fresh start, not getting rich. So you can't have assets that are worth a lot of money and not encumbered by any kind of debt and then expect to be able to keep those assets without the debt. If it's a secured debt like a car or a house, and if you want to keep the car or the house, then you keep that debt and you keep paying it back. But you can keep your property, like your furniture, your clothes, jewelry, electronics, TVs, computers, smartphones, 401ks, they're exempt, IRAs. So you really do get to keep a lot of your property. There's two main consumer bankruptcy types. Chapter 7 is a liquidation bankruptcy that wipes out most of the unsecured debts. And Chapter 13 is a reorganization bankruptcy, where you repay part or all of your debt over 3 to 5 years. So in Section 2, this here section, I'm going to explain Chapter 7s. Who's it for? Chapter 7 is best if you have a lot of unsecured debt. For example, credit cards, medical bills, signature loans, unsecured debt, and little to no disposable income. So if you're making $1,000 a week and your basic living expenses are $1,000 a week, for your rent and utilities and car and gas and like that, and you don't have any money left over at the end of the month, then there's no disposable income. You could be eligible for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. There is a means test, which is based on IRS guidelines in your specific area. So let's say your household size is you and a spouse and 2 children. That would be a household size of 4. So they base the household income and the expenses with the median income based on IRS standards in your area. And if you're under that, you can qualify for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. If you're over, then you have to repay your unsecured creditors however much you're over the means test. So the process of filing a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, everybody has to complete some pre-filing credit counseling. It lasts anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour. It's done online. And at the very end, you call in just to verify that you're a real human being and not a robot. Then the second part is file a petition where you list all of your debts, all of your assets, and all of your income and expenses. Third, about a month after the case is filed, there's a meeting of creditors. Most of them are being done by Zoom calls since COVID. Fourth, the trustee is going to review all of your paperwork that was prepared and filed by your attorney. And then 5, you get a discharge of all your debts that's granted in about 90 days from when the case was filed. So some of the pros and cons of filing a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. A pro is that it's a fast process. In about 90 days from the date of filing, you're going to get a discharge. It also is going to discharge most of your debts. Some of the debts that are not dischargeable are student loans, federal taxes. If they were filed on time and more than 3 years old, federal taxes are dischargeable. Domestic support obligations, those are not dischargeable. Some of the cons is that you could lose some non-exempt property. So non-exempt property in the Eastern District of Missouri, the household exemption is $15,000. So if you have more than $15,000 of equity in a house, it's not exempt. So if you have a $300,000 house and you owe $100,000 on it, then you're probably not going to file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. You're going to file a Chapter 13 bankruptcy so you can keep your house and then set up a repayment plan and keep your house. And if you earn too much money above the median income in your area, then you wouldn't be able to qualify for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Going on to Section 3, Chapter 13. I'm going to explain the Chapter 13 now. Who's it for? Chapter 13 is for people who earn enough to pay some of their debts and want to protect assets like a home or a car from a foreclosure or a repossession. That's a very important part of why my clients file Chapter 13. In Missouri, it's a non-judicial foreclosure state, which means that the creditor, the mortgage company, generally when someone gets 3 months behind on their mortgage, the mortgage company refers it to the trustee of the deed of trust, the law firm, and then the trustee will publish a notice of intent to foreclose for 20 days in a legal newspaper, and it goes to auction after 20 days. The beautiful thing, the wonderful thing, the miraculous thing about filing a Chapter 13 is the automatic stay. It automatically stops the foreclosure. Automatically. No ifs, ands, or buts. Once the Chapter 13 is filed, before the foreclosure, of course, the creditor gets notified and they must stop the foreclosure sale. Then you can set up a repayment plan or apply for a loan modification, whatever's going to work best. The same with a car. If a car gets repossessed, because usually, it's 2 or 3 months behind on the payments, they'll come in the middle of the night. In Missouri, they don't go in front of a judge. They just come in the middle of the night and repossess your car. If you want to get your car back, you can file a Chapter 13, get your car back. So who's eligible for a Chapter 13? There's debt limits. Roughly $2.75 million combined, secured and unsecured, is the debt limit. 2.75 million. So most people are going to qualify for a Chapter 13 based on the debt limits. And you must have regular income. But that could include working for a company or being self-employed or receiving disability or Social Security or retirement, as long as you have income. So what's the overview, the process overview for Chapter 13? The petition is filed and there's a repayment plan filed. A trustee reviews the plan. There's also a Zoom 341 hearing about a month after the case is filed. You send monthly payments to the trustee every month, or it's set up on a wage order if you have a job, and it comes out however often you get paid. If you get paid every 2 weeks, then it comes out every 2 weeks. They split it up into two payments. And then whatever debt remains at the end of the plan, you will receive a discharge. What are some of the pros and cons of a Chapter 13? Well, a pro is you get to keep all your property. You get to catch up on your mortgage and your car payments and keep your mortgage and your car. The cons, it lasts 3 to 5 years. So a Chapter 7 is done in 3 months. A Chapter 13 lasts 3 to 5 years. And you have to make your planned payments on time. So we're moving right along here. Section 4. What are some of the common fears and myths? Myth number 1, I'll lose everything. Most clients keep all their assets thanks to state and federal exemptions. So when I say most, it's 90 to 100%. And if you're in a Chapter 7 bankruptcy and the trustee finds an asset that is not exempt that they can liquidate at auction prices, typically, and you want to keep the property, the trustee will offer you a opportunity to keep the property and pay for what they find out to be the equity in the property. Or you could convert your case into a Chapter 13 and pay back your creditors what they would get in a liquidation. So even if you file a Chapter 7 and you thought that you would be able to keep all of your property, but the trustee has found in their job that there is an asset that they can liquidate, you have options of redeeming the property, keeping the property, or converting into a Chapter 13 and paying back the debts in a Chapter 13. Myth number 2, everyone will know. This is interesting because it's just not true. It is public record, yes, but unless you're famous, no one's checking. So if you don't tell people that you file bankruptcy, people aren't going to know. But if you tell them, it's no big deal, really. I mean, it's freedom from debt. You can only do it once every 8 years, so use it discreetly, discretionary, as a financial tool, and it is freedom from debt, which is a great feeling. And then going forward, you can choose to stay out of debt and pay cash for everything as you go along, or you can choose to go back into debt as you wish. You're free to do as you wish. Myth number 3, it will destroy my credit forever. This is another interesting thing about bankruptcy is your credit can actually improve because you eliminate the debt dragging it down. In the Eastern District of Missouri here, and I'm pretty sure it's this way across the whole country because lenders are nationwide, a person can get a loan for a car the day after filing for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, as long as you can afford to make the payments and you have a job or income that you're making. I think it's like $3,000 a month right now. So yeah, you can actually improve your credit. Your credit score can go up. There's a lot of information on the internet about how to rebuild your credit after bankruptcy, and it's very realistic to have a 700 to 800 credit score a year or 2 years after bankruptcy. Myth number 4, I'm a failure. Well, filing bankruptcy is not a moral failure. It's a legal solution designed to help people like you. That's one of the things that I like about it the most. It's legal. It's a legal solution. So typically when somebody has a lot of debt, they're trying everything they can do to avoid filing bankruptcy because they think that they're morally obligated to repay the debt. They borrowed it, they're morally obligated to repay it. So they don't file or they postpone filing. Well, it's legal in our Constitution with statutory law that someone can file for bankruptcy if they qualify either for a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13. So if it's legal, morally, I don't know. I don't know really the answer to that because I guess when we die, we'll find out what the moral guidelines were to filing for a bankruptcy. I've never really seen anybody abuse morally filing for bankruptcy. It's done because of necessity, not because of morally trying to take advantage of something that they did dishonest. Um, Enough of that. Let's go on to section 5. When it's time to file. Ask these questions. Are you only making minimum payments? Are you only making minimum payments? You know, if you're only making minimum payments, it's going to take you over 30 years to repay that debt. And that's if you don't add more debt onto it as you go along. So if you're only making minimum payments and just barely getting by, that's possibly a sign it's time to file for bankruptcy. Are you using one credit card to pay another credit card? Again, that's a sign that you're stuck in debt and it's going to take a long, long time to get out. Are you getting collection calls? That's harassing, nerve-wracking, can cause stress in relationships and health, and it's very difficult to take collection calls. Is your paycheck or bank account being garnished? Nothing worse than having $300 in your checking account that you just got paid for, and then you go to buy gas or groceries and you get declined, and you ask the bank why, and they say, well, there's a garnishment. You just lost the only $300 you had left in the world. Or if you look at your paycheck and you're expecting 800 and you get 600 and you're like, what? And you find out that you have a judgment and they're garnishing your wages. Are you behind on your mortgage or your car payment? Another sign that it could be time to file for a bankruptcy. It can keep the creditors from foreclosing or repossessing by filing for a bankruptcy. And when a creditor refers your house to be foreclosed on, they're going to add like $1,600 to $2,000 to your mortgage because that's how much they had to pay an attorney to foreclose on your property. So if you answered yes to any of these, it might be time to talk to a financial bankruptcy professional. Section 6. We're moving right along here. I'm actually trying to speed it up a little bit because I have an appointment in a couple minutes and I'm trying to get this finished. So the benefits of a bankruptcy, section 6, immediate relief, the automatic stay. It automatically stops lawsuits, garnishments, repossessions, and foreclosures. Long-term benefits, you get peace of mind, a clean financial slate, ability to rebuild credit in 12 to 24 months, and you can stop a foreclosure and save your home. Section 7, steps to take, what to do next. 1, pull a credit report. 2, make a budget. And 3, call a bankruptcy attorney, like me. At Ridings Law Firm, we've helped thousands of families find peace through bankruptcy. If you're unsure where to turn, we offer free consultations and we'll help you figure out if it's the right move. Of course, I'm in the Eastern District of Missouri. I'm only licensed in Missouri. So if you live in a state other than Missouri, I can't file a bankruptcy for you. So let's jump into any live questions. I don't see anything, any questions, any live questions. So if you've learned something today, please like, comment, and share this video. Subscribe for more tips on debt, credit, and financial freedom. You don't have to live in fear of your debt. There is a path forward. Thank you, and God bless.